Good evening, everyone, and welcome to At Home with Andrew. And tonight it's At Home with Andrew and Eric, actually at Eric's home, as opposed to Andrew's home. And thank you for putting up with that very scary bumper. Ages ago, I asked for a Halloween bumper with a ghost dog, and they gave it to me, and I never used it. We're not even close to Halloween, but I figured, why not use it? We're close enough.
It's the right month.
Right. Close enough. That's all we need. So welcome, everybody. Tonight's episode of At Home with Andrew is going to focus a bit more, be a little bit more wine forward, and explore, correct me if I'm wrong, but how oftentimes people pair their wines with the food when the menu is already set. But this is going to kind of be the reverse of that, like how the wine informs the food option as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, very much so. And I think you hit it right on the nail. You know, a lot of people kind of go to a restaurant and they look at the menu and be like, ooh, that steak looks really good. And then they'll ask like, what wine should I get with this steak? Or what, you know what I mean? That way. So this is going to be more kind of, if anyone read the C. Hafer News article, you ended up with this nice bottle of wine. Someone gifted you this bottle of wine that you're a little too scared to touch. Maybe the price point's just a penny or two more than you're just willing to whip open on a Wednesday, sort of a thing. So how do you make sure you focus your food around that wine dish? So, you know, I've been cooking for 20 some years. Eric here is certified somm. So, you know, I figure it's the best time to sit here and do this. So Eric here has picked out 3 bottles of wine for us that we're going to be opening tonight. And then off of those 3 bottles of wine, I've chosen kind of 3 dishes that pair well with the food. So as Tim kind of alluded to, this is going to be a lot more wine forward. So Eric's going to be kind of pulling his weight this time and be talking a little bit about each wine. So we'll be talking about each bottle of wine, giving you guys a little bit of background about the wine. And then we'll be bringing the food already pre-done. There won't be so much cooking on camera in this one, and talk about the food, why we paired it with this and that sort of a thing.
Cool. And as you said in the article, we as a species have had 9,000 years essentially of figuring out how to pair things. So there's really no excuse anymore.
No, not at this point. You know, it's more just knowing these little connections. You know, something that Eric just said minutes ago. You know, was it if it grows together, it goes together. So yeah. Just, you know, little tricks like that we'll be saying all night that you guys will be able to pick up on next time you're looking at a bottle of wine, or maybe, you know, use what you learned tonight to do it the way most do, and you're eating that thing on the menu and being like, hey, I remember those 2 goofy guys that one time told me that, you know, don't be scared of red wine and fish, and we'll be talking about that tonight. So, you know,
that's a good alternate title for the show, actually. 2 goofy guys told me that one thing. I think that's not a bad idea. So I just wanted to point out that somebody actually sent in a comment already. Emily said that bumper was terrifying, and she's not wrong. But this is a good segue to lead me into everyone who's watching. If you have comments about wine, about a wine you have at home, questions about what's going on screen, pretty much anything at all, just fire it off and I'll get it in. Just type it into the comments section, either on Facebook or YouTube. It works the same. And I'll get them to the goofy guys, I guess, you know, so questions and comments for the goofy guys. So I'm going to take myself at least significantly down. Oops, that's not down. That's bigger. There we go.
Down.
Significantly like that. I'm going to be taking myself in and out, you know, as comments come and go, and if I have anything to add, but I'm going to give the screen over to these gentlemen, and let's get going.
Sounds great. We appreciate it. I'm going to rearrange some stuff here to make a little more room. So I'll start us off on this bottle because I remember the day that, not so much this bottle, but more on this style of wine. It was about 2.5 years ago. Me and Eric were planning a trip down to Milwaukee, and we were literally going to run down to the public market to grab some food. I think I was looking for truffles or something along those lines. And we popped in. He's like, "Man, you got to try this." Like, I just opened this bottle. I've never been big on this style of wine before, but try this. And we both drank not even a full glass, half a glass, if that. And we were halfway to Sheboygan, and our mouths were still watering from this wine we tried. And kind of from that point forward, I think both of us have been on a huge kick for this particular type of wine. So, Eric, you want to kind of lead from there and kind of talk about this wine?
Sure. All right. So, yeah, I got 3 wines that we picked out for tonight. All wines that really excite me, some of my favorite producers and grape varieties. And the grape he was talking about was Riesling. So let's see if I can get this in the camera here. Can focus, maybe?
It's pretty focused and pretty unpronounceable.
Yeah. So I'm going to do my best with this label here. So this is the Hofgut Falkenstein Niedermenniger Herrenberg 2022 Riesling Kabinett Trocken.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And I'm sure I mispronounced a little bit of that. It's like when people not from Wisconsin come to Wisconsin and try to pronounce our city names.
Believe it or not, it does not speak German, but it sounds like you nailed it.
Yeah. So this is I know like in the wine shops, people get really scared by this bottle here. This one at least does have the grape variety. It does say Riesling on it. But there's actually a lot of information just in what I just read. So Hofgut, all that means is like small family farm or domain. Falkenstein is the producer. Niedermenniger is the town that it's from. So if you ever look at a German wine label, and if you find the word that ends in ER, that means of or from.
We're mirrored, so it might be backwards. Hey, give me a second.
No, it's good. No, it's coming across.
Okay.
It's good. It's coming across just fine.
That's why I can't read it off the screen here. So yeah, that's the town it's from. Herrenberg is the vineyard, and then 2022, obviously the vintage. Riesling is the grape variety. This one is a Kabinett. So there is ripeness levels in Riesling that they'll put on their Predicat wines. So this one is a Kabinett level. So in order of ripeness, it would be Kabinett, then it would be Spätlese, Auslese, Bieren Auslese. Then there's like ice wine. People might have had some ice wines. We make some in Wisconsin. Oh, yeah. And then even riper than that would be a Trocken Bieren Auslese. That's a lot to say.
Yeah. So the cool thing with that latest one he just said is that the grapes themselves, as they're pulling them off the vine, are literally frozen at that point. Like they've been there for so long, which I thought was really, really interesting. I know something for me when I saw like sweetness levels and all that, this, Trocken, Spätlese, Kabinett, up until really me and him started drinking wine. Really, I started drinking wine with Eric. I always just thought that meant that, they put a little extra sugar in the bottle. And I found out I was completely wrong on that.
So it pays to hang out with the sommelier is what you're saying.
Yeah, you learn a thing or two about wine, even when it's accidental. And I found out that, that all has to do with how late into the season or how long they leave those grapes on the vine, which I thought was very interesting and not at all what I expected.
I just realized I don't think I've ever opened a bottle of wine sitting down before.
Yeah, you look a little awkward doing it.
All right. But yeah, the last word on there actually is the most important one. So Trocken, it says here at the bottom of the label here, that means dry. So a lot of people think all Riesling's sweet, or they're like, Kabinett, oh, that's a sweet Riesling. This is a Kabinett level ripeness, but fermented dry. That's what Trocken means. Sometimes you'll see like fine herb or what is it? Trocken. That means off dry. So if you're not a big fan of sweet wines, just look for the word Trocken, and that will be a dry from Germany. That'll be a dry Riesling.
Could I ask Eric? at the end of this, when this is all over tonight, could you come up with like your top 10 or 15 words that aren't familiar words, like just the wine non sommelier that you could pass along to me, and I could post them on Facebook, just as an adjunct thing for tonight, just that people, if they don't remember trocken or they're not writing it down at home, they could grab it online. Online.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool.
So I have said a good one about this wine. I would love to try some now. So a little bit about this producer. I actually, me and Dunbar actually drank the first bottle I ever had from them, probably like a month ago. So they aged this in 1,000-liter used oak barrels for 3 to 9 months. So there's a little bit of oak aging on this Riesling. And they only release 1 barrel of each of their wines. So like they have names on them. This one is the Egon, I believe it says right there. Yeah. That we're trying today. So
something he had brought up, and that is pretty interesting with this wine specifically, is sometimes some of these, big wine collectors will actually try to get all 18. You said 18 barrels he has, I believe?
He has 18
barrels. 18 barrels from this guy's production, but they all have a different name. So they'll have possibly 18 bottles that all have a different name on them, but it's the same harvest, the same, that sort of a thing, which I think is just really, really interesting. Again, something I never would have thought to connect with wine.
Oh, it smells really pretty. Oh, it's me. Good night.
Yeah. Okay. So this wine, when we opened that one about a month ago, it was really interesting to the point of it jumped to one of my top 3 wines I've ever drank in my life. I mean, it
was my favorite wine we drank this year.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. It was such an interesting forward wine. So Eric, do you want to give us like just a quick kind of walk down of, like maybe a 1-minute fast tasting, as you kind of smell what you're smelling, what you're tasting and all that, like what notes you pull out right away, just so you can kind of, people at home can kind of follow along.
Yeah. So it's definitely fruity, but like a lot of underripe fruits. This one's got like white peach, a little bit of like pear, maybe even like a little bit of grapefruit. But it's also got like this little bit of herbiness, almost like a mintiness going on there, which is really interesting because you wouldn't think of Pierzine normally when you're
right. It's not quite floral, but it's not quite vegetal either. It's somewhere in between those two spots.
Are you getting the white pepper in the nose?
Yeah, definitely.
Which is so weird for a Riesling. I don't know what it is about his wines. Maybe it's
those barrels, maybe just the way they were used. So as he mentioned, there's a little bit of white pepper on this, which as we were tasting this, trying to talk about what food we would pair with this, it's kind of what inspired the dish with this tonight. Riesling, due to the high acid level that this wine has, pairs really, really well with spicy food. So anything from, just run the gambit of any cultural food that is spicy. Curries from Thai or India, some South American or Latino style spice, or like the vinegary spice, like a Tabasco, that type of stuff. Always pairs really well with Riesling.
I would say though, like if you're talking like something really spicy, you probably want a little bit of sugar there. That usually kind of helps with the heat when it comes to spicy food. This one's bone dry, so I'd be a little bit hesitant on going too spicy with it.
Right. And that's where I was starting to lean, is because this kind of has that peppery note, and again, being so dry, and it's just a lot of that acid, but bone dryness is why we are doing the dish we're doing. So we're doing the coq au vin, which here in a minute or two I'll bring out and kind of walk through. But coq au vin breaks down to chicken and wine. So, we're basically just slow cooking some chicken thighs right now with a splash of this Riesling. And it's heavily peppered. So you're getting that little bit of a peppery spice, but as Eric just kind of pointed out, with the dry wine, it's not chili spice. It's, a little bit of black pepper spice.
You try it yet? So this has got the hallmark. Just Riesling's a very high acid wine. Usually the sugar kind of dances with it, and it kind of hides just how much acid or acidity there is in Riesling. If people are, most people know about Riesling, but if you're really big into like Sauvignon Blanc, especially like New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs, I highly recommend trying to find a dry German Riesling. These wines are super crisp and fruity, got the high acidity. It's good in the summertime. And the crazy thing is this one is dry and it's only 10.5% alcohol, which is pretty low, especially for a dry wine. But that's just, this is from the Mosel in Germany, which is like on the 49th parallel. So it's like between 30 and 50 is kind of where most wine regions are. So this is like right on the edge there. So the grapes actually have a really hard time ripening. So the river that flows through there, there's huge like cliffs next to these rivers. And what they do is they'll plant all their vineyards on these steep cliffs. So when the sun hits the water, it bounces off and also hits the grapes to get them to ripen just a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in. That was really wild last year when we were in Portugal and we were on the Douro River. The cliffs on both sides are so incredibly steep and they're all terraced. And the only structures that are on there are little like cabins to run into if the weather goes south. And they still have areas of land that aren't developed on these really steep cliff walls. But it's amazing to see it. And the sun that does come off the water, because we took a little boat down to a vineyard there. It was incredible how much you get like double sunlight because you're getting it from every possible angle. And it's beautiful as well. And it's just fascinating to see. It's one of the, more interesting things. You should go. I mean, if you have a passport, just go tomorrow. I mean, if you have nothing better to do. I highly recommend it. So, all right, I'm going to take myself out again.
I think, Dunbar, are you coming?
Yeah, we got
back here?
some food plated for us.
Awesome. So Dunbar's come back with some food here. We're going to pair with this. It smells really good, Dunbar.
Super happy with how this came out.
I like that when he's getting the food that we just get to watch you drink. It becomes the Eric drinking camp.
Do what you're good at.
I'm going to grab this and we'll grab food cam. I'm going to get food cam over here going so we can kind of look at the food that we have
she's hot.
Quickly prepared here.
Let me bring in food cam.
Oh, yeah. She's steaming, baby.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely steaming. So what do we have going there, Andrew?
All right. So this, as I said, is coq au vin, which is chicken in wine. Literally just French translates pretty much straight to chicken in wine. So everyone should have the ingredients list. I know, Tim, you posted that up for us and all of that. So I'm just going to give everyone a quick walkthrough of how you prepare this because it is a delicious meal and one of the easiest ones you can make because it requires about 10, maybe 15 minutes of work. And then it's just one of those, the longer and lower and slower you let it go, the better it comes together. So I took 2 pieces of bacon, kind of cut those up into little lardons. So you can kind of see, try to pull the piece out right here on the end of the knife there. You can just see kind of a little sliver of the bacon. So you can do this with bacon or really any fatty pork like that. If you wanted to get like some pork belly or something along those lines. Sorry, I'm still learning how to use a fork with a cast on. So you're going to slice that up, put that into your pan, and start to just kind of saute that off. You're just trying to render as much of the fat out of that bacon as you can. Medium heat, maybe medium high, and just pull some of the bacon out or some of the fat out of there. After, 2-3 minutes of that, pull all the bacon out, leaving the grease in your pan. And then you're going to have this chicken thigh here. I like using the dark meat just because if you're going to sit there and really cook this stuff down for hour, 2 hours, I mean, realistically, you could do this for 3 or 4 hours. Or as I did tonight in an Instant Pot, I made this in 25 minutes. So, kind of what you have time. Skin down right in that bacon grease and let it just really crisp up. And you want to get a little bit of that color under this chicken skin. And however long, about 5-ish minutes or so. And I just lightly salted the chicken thighs. 5 or so minutes. I then pulled the chicken thighs out, just set it on a plate with the bacon where I had it. And I put in the onions we have here and garlic, which is just chopped up and minced up kind of onions and garlic. And threw those in, sauteed that off, and then added mushrooms, the chicken, added the mushroom and a splash of wine. So I did not use the wine that we are drinking tonight. It is always recommended to use the wine you're going to be, cook with the wine you're going to be drinking, but not necessarily the exact same bottle. I am not a proponent of cooking wines and those other ones you just buy on the grocery store shelves that are some, basically it's bottom of the barrel, the worst wine you can get. And they just say it's cooking wine because no one's actually going to want to drink it. So for this, and I wanted to add a little bit of sweetness to the dish, I added this Riesling here, which you can see is the Spat, let's say. Yeah. So I put a splash of this Riesling in there and kind of scraped off the bottom of the pan. Any of those nice pan bits called deglazing your pan. Deglaze the bottom with the splash of that Riesling. Then added everything back into there and added some broth to it, covered it, and just let it simmer. And that's really what this dish is. So again, you're just browning off some stuff all in the same pan. And as you can see, this is chicken thighs, and it's just gonna just melt off your fork. I'm just completely pulling this thing apart without. You can see I'm using the flat end of this fork here. So the kind of trick to modifying your dish, or this dish particular, to your wine, is what type of wine. We're using this Riesling. Coq au vin is often known as a red wine dish. So your chicken kind of gets that reddish pink. The first time I ever made this, me and Eric, and do you remember what was this, the Northern Syrah we paired it with? Yeah. So we paired this more with the Northern Syrah. So I adjusted it just a little bit with this one. Again, we said we were pulling some white pepper out, so it's got some more white pepper and black peppercorn. Where with that version of this we did with the Northern Syrah, we used a little more pink and green peppercorn just to add that flavor profile back in. But realistically, in a recipe, changing black pepper to green pepper, black pepper to white pepper isn't, much at all. And then a splash of a different wine. So this is a great dish that I really like to pair with wine because it really allows the wine to shine through as you're drinking the wine, and obviously cooking with the wine just adds it right back in there. And it's something. It's kind of a classic French peasant dish, if you will. It's not something that's known to be this high-end kings and queens. They're making this off the low cuts. Yeah, go ahead and sure, dig in. The low-end cuts of the chicken and all that, So I think it fits really, really well with Wisconsin with this time of year. It's a very hearty dish as it starts to get cold. And it's one I'm always excited to make, and I'm always excited to pair with a good wine. So
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I believe both of you are familiar with Ryan Morris. He wanted to chime in that this sounds like a fun dish, and it looks really good. I agree completely with Ryan. I foolishly just brought myself some pretzels to work, and that was dinner. And that looks so good. So I'm envious, but I love the look of it. And so you can use any wine you want, and it just adjusts the peppers as such. As long as you're cooking with what you're drinking with the wine, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for the most part. Obviously a few other here or there things to adjust. But your salty level. Let's say you want to pair this with a saltier wine. You may want to time your salt back a little bit. You're pairing this with a sweeter wine. You may want to put a little bit more salt in there. But when you think of this dish in particular, I'm not talking every time you pair wine to food. Wine is actively in this dish. So make the dish balance itself with the wine that you're going to drink, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're drinking a saltier wine, like an Albarino or something like that, take a little salt out of your thing because you don't want to get over salted on your palate or something along those lines. But I'd say that recipe that's at the head of the article that you posted, or the above the link for this right here, with very, very minor changes, you'd be able to get it. And honestly, just pick up maybe 2 bottles of wine that are exactly the same. Try it once, tweak it, and next time you're ready to make a dish like this and impress some people, you'll have it nailed. So
that's really good. Did you try it with the wine?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah. No, this one I put a little more mushrooms in as well. And then I normally do put a lot of mushrooms in mine, but I put just a little bit more in this one, hoping that the earthiness from the mushrooms is going to help pair it across a little bit, and it happened to work. And that's what I mean. So just slight adjustments. If you're already drinking a super earthy wine, such as what's that Rioja? Oh, that Rioja that we're about to open. Maybe leave out a little bit of the mushrooms and add some carrots, because that little bit of sweetness may help balance the total meal with this smoky, earthy Rioja. So again, it's just pairing food and wine together. But this is a great dish, I think, to do it with, because just little adjustments like that just take it from a good dish to something I'm going to want again tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks absolutely great. I'm super jealous. So that's okay, though.
One of these times, Tim, we'll find somebody to sit at the library and push the play button so you can join us on this end of the camera.
Oh, that would be sweet.
Just wait. Those summer interns will be back here in a few months, right?
Yeah. It's just around the corner.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off to the side. I believe Eric's going to go ahead and start talking to us about our second wine of the day. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I did have another question from Ryan Morris, who wanted to know, Eric, what is your favorite song to listen to while drinking this wine?
The Riesling?
Yes. He did ask before we started moving on to the next wine. So the Riesling.
Are you sure he's talking to me? It looks like it's spelled wrong. The name.
Ryan has many talents, but spelling is not necessarily possibly one of them.
No, it's with a K. That's definitely you.
It's got to be
to pair that with, huh?
Your favorite song to pair it with.
My favorite song to pair with that wine. Something pretty chill. Probably some Tycho.
Really,
yeah.
Tycho?
Uh-huh.
That's a shocking out of left field choice.
Yeah.
He also provided
wine
this.
Kind of floats over your tongue, and I don't know. That wine makes me feel like I'm floating, or the song makes me kind of feel like I'm floating. So.
And also, he came up with the third alternate spelling for your name, A-R-I-C-K. So
should have my Brian Boris name tag for this one.
All right. So what is our next wine?
All right. So the next wine is a Beaujolais from France. So the first one we were in Germany. Now we're going into France. This is probably I don't know. German Riesling is getting up there, but this is probably my favorite style of wine. So this is Cru Beaujolais, not to be confused with like the Beaujolais Nouveau you're gonna see around right before Thanksgiving. So this one, I also got one of these wax tops. They're kind of a pain to open, but let's get this little sticker off. Here, I'll start there. So the easiest way to open one of these is sometimes this wax may kind of brittle, so I'll just take like the palm of my hand and just do this and kind of warm up the wax. And then just stick the corkscrew right through the bottle.
So I know just angle of the camera, it was hard to see, and I've never actually from this angle seen it, but it was pretty neat. After you warmed up the wax like that, when you went to poke it in, you actually saw the wax kind of dip in a little, so you can tell it kind of just formed with it, formed down into the cavity of the cork. That was really neat. Try not to make a mess.
All right, cork's out. Wax is with it. There's a little bit on the edge here. I'm gonna try to just break off. These always look really cool, but I gotta say they kind of make a mess. Could just use my corkscrew for this, but there we go.
So what about cutting off the wax from the start with the kind of like a foil cutter? Is that something you would recommend, or
you ain't gonna be able to just, I mean, depending on the kind of wax, like sometimes they're super, like this one's pretty brittle. I mean, this came out with pieces here in my hand. Yeah. Sometimes they're really soft and you can actually just pull it. Like if you ever had like a like Maker's Mark, their wax real soft. This one's super brittle. So I mean you can try it, but
okay. And what's the point of the wax seal?
Nothing.
Is it just aesthetic? Just an aesthetic choice?
It's just aesthetics, that's it.
Huh. Yeah. I didn't know if it was there to kind of help keep the cork moist, anything along those lines, or
yeah, I don't know. To be completely honest with you, I don't know if there actually is a reason for it. But if there is, I can't imagine that the benefit is better or worth putting the wax on it.
I've seen
besides it just looking really cool.
And the reason I was wondering is like here, obviously it's a very small wax. But I've seen the ones where they they dip like 3/4 of the bottle. Obviously that's an aesthetic choice when you're going down onto the label. But I didn't know if there's actually a reason that somebody just decided like, nope, we're just going to go above and beyond sort of a thing. So.
So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the wine I chose.
Yes, 5 minutes on the phone. So 5 minutes.
All right. So this is. How come when you put the bottle up, it looks so nice and
pull
clear.
Back a little. There you go. There you go.
There we go. All right. So Perfect. This is a 2021 Morgon. That is the Beaujolais Cru. This is the Côte du Pays from Jean Foillard. So he is part of the Gang of Four. If anyone's heard about like the whole kind of like natural wine movement that's going around right now. That kind of started in Beaujolais with the Gang of Four. He's one of the producers. The other three would be Marcel Lapierre, Guy Breton, and Thivenet, I believe, is the other one. And basically all that means is they're just a very hands-off approach in the winery. They ferment with native yeasts. And what I mean by that is just like when you pick the grapes, there's yeast on the actual grapes, and they don't add yeast to the fermentation. I mean, there's yeast everywhere. There's yeast in your home. It's everywhere in nature. So, but a little bit about the if you notice, it doesn't even say Beaujolais on this bottle. Like I said, it just shows the cru here. So Morgon is in. It's one of them. It's kind of like right in the center of. There's 10 crus in Beaujolais. This one's kind of in the center. It's like south of Fleury, which is the other cru, and then north of Bruy. So these wines are a little bit more structured normally. They are made in like granite and schist soils, and Côte du Pays is actually the highest point in Morgon. In Beaujolais, and it's actually an extinct volcano. So all the soils are just really old, volcanic rock. Let's open this here. I'm gonna pour a little sample. Yeah. So I'm super excited to try this. I've tried like every vintage, I think, since 2015, and this is the 2021. I have not tried this one.
I'll lower this some just so I can get the full color as you pour it in there.
that's one thing I don't actually know if they can get the color through. It's kind of hard on the brown table, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean,
at least
pretty.
At least see it as it was coming in.
Hold it up against Andrew's shirt.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is a lighter red. I can see my hand through it.
Subtle.
Yeah. Yeah, so the grape variety in Beaujolais is Gamay. It's not actually Beaujolais. That's the place or the region. Gamay is the grape variety. So this one, if you really enjoy like Pinot Noir, like lighter reds like this, I highly recommend these wines. They're usually a little bit more fruity on the nose. These ones are usually a little more perfumed, and that's got to do with just the style of winemaking. These go through semi-carbonic maceration, which usually creates a more like perfumed, softer, gentler kind of aromatic.
Okay. What is carbonic maceration? If you had to explain it in 2-3, if you had to quickly break it down, I guess.
Break it down. So like this one is semi-carbonic. So basically what it is they bring the grapes in. They don't pick the grapes off the stems. They leave them on the stems, like all the bunches, and they just put them in a vat. And then slowly over time, just the weight of all of those grape bunches, the ones on the bottom start to burst, and then the juice connects with the yeast, and that's what starts the fermentation. And then carbonic maceration is actually when it's an let's not get too geeky. Okay. Basically, the berries ferment from the inside out is basically what's happening.
Okay.
And then they explode, create more juice, and it's just a continuous process. So it's an anaerobic form of fermentation, meaning like no oxygen. It's byproduct of fermentation would be carbon dioxide, heat, and alcohol.
And what would you say the result of that is in a wine?
In a wine, it just makes it really perfumey, super fresh, fruity, and softer. Because Gamay is actually a really high acid grape, just like Riesling is. And by doing that kind of fermentation as well, one of the byproducts is it lowers the acidity of the wine. This wine's still probably gonna have a lot of acid, but it is lower from that kind of winemaking.
Eric, not to interrupt.
A little bit of a deep tangent there.
That's okay, though. I mean, there's nothing wrong with information, even if it is geeky, learning something new. I mean, I think it's a good thing. Could you possibly inform Andrew that the food cam has kicked for some reason?
Sure thing. You hear that, Chef?
Yep, I'm bringing out the next dish. I'll be there in just a few minutes to fix it.
Okay.
It's settled.
So explain for you. It's screaming from the other room. So you mentioned this is one of your favorite wines. What do you, I guess, how would you describe? I mean, you mentioned the fruitiness and all that, but what makes this different than a typical red? What would you say is the standing out from a Merlot or a more recognizable maybe name?
Yeah, like you said, like it's definitely really fruity. It's got like the raspberry notes, but it's also got like this like forest, like perfect. It's almost fall. It almost has like this dried fall leaves kind of smell to it. And a lot of European wines will have a little bit more of that earthiness. That being said, it is still extremely fruity. But one of the reasons I love these wines is first, I like drinking them on their own. Like I don't need food with these. Like they're just super delicious wines you can just drink by itself. They, believe it or not, people don't believe Beaujolais can age, but the Beaujolais crus, especially the Morgon or the Moulin Nevat, I have found those crus to age at least up to 10 years. And I drank them throughout the whole curve, the whole aging curve. And I haven't seen any of them go through like this, what they call a shutdown phase. Wine will sometimes do that when it's aging, where there's just certain periods in the wine's life where it just, oh, wow. All right. Game day. Yeah, like I said, every time I've ever opened a bottle, it's just always in a great spot, and it pairs with everything. Like this, my favorite glass of wine to drink with fish is Beaujolais.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I guess you could say I was alluding to. Earlier earlier in the kind of intro was, there are a lot of I don't know, wine laws people think is a thing, right? White wine, white fish. You want, certain things pair only with this. And when you know your wine and you know your food, and you don't even need to know it to the point of being an expert, in it, but you just know, which I'm right. But when you just know, certain little nuances like that, like it's a rule because it's probably right 90% of the time, right? But the rules are there because there's an exception. It would just be what it is. It wouldn't be a rule if there wasn't an exception to it.
Are those fish sticks?
No, they're not fish sticks. They're not fish sticks. So with this,
it even pairs with fish sticks. Amazing.
All the way out. Yeah. they're Van Camps, okay?
Oh.
All these red fish sticks here. But no, with that, and you can bring up this food cam if you'd like.
One quick thing before I bring up the food cam, Ryan Morris, and this is not just this is a comment. It is information about the wax, and here we go. Terravena's website explains that wax seals were used back in the 1600s when the glass manufacturer figured out how to make bottles that were the same shape. People could store their wine bottles in attics and basements, but mice and rats would chew through the corks. By adding wax toppers, people stopped the rats and mice from destroying their corks and wines. Currently, wax seals are still used to ensure the cork maintains its integrity through the aging process.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, that's actually really cool. Thank you, Ryan. I actually did not know that. I guess that does make
and it stops, mice and rats from drinking your wine.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah. I mean, drunken rats are
drunken
rats are a beast to deal with.
It's a nightmare. I mean, there are literally horror movies about that. But let's get to the food cam because I want to see these fish sticks.
Yeah, so here are the Eric's fish sticks, and as we kind of said in the video and all, or in the promos leading up to this, we're right into football season, so that tailgate food is something every Wisconsin bar and every Wisconsinite fully is aware of. So one of the things me and Eric have talked about before is how well Beaujolais pairs with burgers. And how, pairing a Beaujolais and a burger is absolutely, any burger, just a changing experience when drinking wine. You just don't think, pour me this nice wine when you're eating a burger, but it really is this incredible pairing that I never would have thought of. To the point where one of the, I own a book at my house. It's called like Big Macs and Burgundy or something along those lines. And it's a legit book that was published. It just talks about kind of these pairings of food you wouldn't think about. That actually work really well. So I wanted to show some diversity of a red wine with this, but I also kind of wanted to show something that probably everybody that's going to watch this video has ate before. I'm not expecting every viewer to have had made or ate coq au vin before or something like that. But we have got to figure out which way my camera's facing here. Chicken wings, and these are kind of a little bit of a heavier, like a parm garlic, kind of, it's kind of a sauce, mozzarella sticks, and dill pickle chips. So just a very tailgatey style food. You kind of go to that restaurant and get that sampler platter sort of a thing. And I wanted to show, this is very much something that you got a nice bottle of wine. You don't have to go all out and spend 6 hours or, spend hundreds of dollars on amazing ingredients to make food that pairs with it. These were prepared fried pickles and mozzarella sticks that I just threw in the air fryer for 6 minutes. These wings were actually the pre-marinated ones from Festival that I think I did at 360 degrees for 12 minutes in an air fryer.
Festival fried chicken with champagne.
Yeah, and that's another one.
Ship that
Fried chicken and champagne. If we, that's another one of those, I guess, breaks the food rule. Every time you crack a bottle of champagne, you don't have to have a $300 tin of caviar sitting next to you. You can just, grab that rotisserie chicken and just go at it barehanded, like, a 14th century peasant. So, that's kind of what this pairing here, why I did it and why I really wanted to show it off was to show, this is a very versatile wine. Said that the fruitiness on it allows you to do a lot with it because it just brings such I don't want to say sweetness because it's not overly sweet. It's that fruitiness that makes you think sweet because it has that very ripe fruit smell to it and on the nose and palate. So it balances very well. If you wanted to do something like a fish, you could do this with a real fatty halibut or a cod or something like that. And that fruitiness is really going to balance that cod off, just like as if you were trying to pair, a white wine with it. And then here again, we have this fatty fried foods that are, again, going to work with it. But also these pickle chips and kind of this more Parmesan garlic style stuff, I think will pair with that foresty floor notes that you were talking about and bringing forward. So that's the key is in cooking and pairing, you want to make sure you have flavors that kind of come up and maybe cross, but at least get close, but they don't have to intersect. As long as you're running flavors parallel, they'll work together, right?
Yeah, and the acidity is going to help cut through that. Any fried food, like I said, that's why the fried chicken and the champagne work so well. It kind of cuts through all that.
Absolutely. But, so yeah, I mean it's yeah, that's awesome. Works very well. I'm gonna grab some paper towel for the fried food, so we can dig into one of these wings right here and make everyone at home jealous.
I'm not home, but I'm certainly jealous. One thing I noticed, and I'm gonna pop back in just on the side a little bit. My wife and I just went on a trip to Italy, and just in general, there is a lot less standing on ceremony for what white wine goes with, what red wine goes with, and rosés are really proliferating in Italy right now in an incredibly delicious manner. And it might have something to do with that anchovies are used is so much in cooking over there that it's kind of across the spectrum. But I noticed the whole time we were there that there wasn't really any standing on ceremony, and it would just be different things at different times in the meal, and it was just a different experience, but it wasn't ever wrong. It was never bad.
Absolutely. And I think anybody should, at least, I don't know if everybody will. Well, at the end of the day, if you drink what you like and eat what you like, if you want to have, if you want to have this Pinot Grigio and a steak because you like Pinot Grigio and you like steak, do it. Like, who are we to tell you what you enjoy?
Aged Riesling and steak. That was a weird combination that I found that I love.
There you go. So, there is no wrong or right answer. And that's not, what we're here to tell you. We're here to show you how to take, that's the fun part, exploring it, how to take, what you like and maybe just a slight tweak to make it better, but it's never going to be wrong. Like you just said, that aged Riesling in a steak. Okay, so I'm not going to grab that 2021 Riesling when I want a steak, but I do want a Riesling because I don't know, it's summer and Riesling in the summer is incredible. So, now I know, all right, let's look for that aged Riesling instead of that fresh 2021 or 22 or something along those lines. So that's what we really want to make sure people at home are understanding is go ahead and grab whatever food you want, grab whatever drink you like, pair it, try it, maybe save half that bottle or maybe save a little glass of that. So the next day you can maybe tweak something a little bit, tweak your food just a little bit. Say, wow, that was a really sweet wine. I need to balance that a little more with a little something else. And learn to balance the two, learn how to pair the two. Don't anticipate every single time you open a bottle that it's going to pair.
Oh yeah, I still fail sometimes. But then when you do find one, it's like, oh man.
Ryan Morris has chimed in again that very fancy. Now, I think he's just talking about the show in general. I don't know for sure. It could be.
I think he meant my white shirt.
Well, white is fancy. There's no two ways around it.
I figured we didn't have a tablecloth for the table, so I would wear it to these weeks.
Why'd you get napkins with a white shirt like that? It seems,
Really, it's just laundry day, so I went to Walmart and bought a new 5-pack of shirts because I didn't have any clean ones. Yeah, my washer's in my basement, and I'm still too scared to go down those stairs after last Tuesday. So,
would you like would you like to describe what happened to you last Tuesday for people that don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. So last Tuesday, I decided that it's getting to the time to where it's time to take the air conditioner. I live in an old house built in I think it was 1898, so very old house. So I decided to take the air conditioners downstairs. And I got to the top of the stairs and I was like, man, this is going to take a while. I should just go really fast backwards down the stairs with the air conditioner flying at me. And while I won't say it was a good idea, I definitely got the air conditioner down the stairs very quick. I fell down the stairs backwards with an air conditioner. And I fractured my wrist and 3 of my ribs doing it. So this actually worked out very well that we had this wine forward at home scheduled anyways, to where my cooking was allowed to be just slightly more limited than I had originally planned on it being. So.
And how's the air conditioner?
That's a sore subject. Yeah, that's a sore subject.
Okay.
As sore as I am, the fact that my, I think I bought that a year ago for like $600, and I think I got summer out of it. So at this rate, I got to take a second mortgage out if I'm getting 1 year of air conditioning per air conditioner out of it. So no, I haven't plugged it back in to try it yet. But I don't have much hope for it. I think it's a bit of a goner. So. Yeah, it was looking pretty beat up. So,
well, thank you for doing the show. I mean, not everyone would have done the show after a tumble like that, so definitely appreciate it.
All right. Once I saw the wine Derek had pulled out for this, I definitely was not going to miss this one. So, So far, just kind of recap, anybody who's just now popping in or anybody that, just kind of catching a snippet of it. So far, we're 2 wines down. Eric has pulled us a German Riesling that we paired with cocoa bean, which translates to chicken and wine. I believe this particular kind that I made is actually called cocoa bean Alsace, which just basically means a white wine one, just because it's close to that Rhone Valley or Alsace. What's the river? Rhine Valley? Rhine.
Well,
Right. Yeah.
River's the Rhine.
Right. Yeah. So it's got a name. I can't remember exactly. It just basically means cocoa bean with white, but cocoa bean, just chicken and wine, and then the Beaujolais that we are still having our glass, and I do. I guess Eric's going a little quicker than I am. Perfect tonight. So, and we paired that with our game day food. Again, today I had chicken wings, some mozzarella sticks, and some frickles. Other ideas, sliders. Anything else that really, like game day wise, screams do you think would pair well with this Beaujolais?
Well, you hit them.
Yeah. So yeah, and as Eric said earlier, any burger you want to do. A mushroom Swiss, you want to do just a standard, classic burger on a little slider bun.
Would queso dip pair well with the Beaujolais?
What?
Queso dip?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Like I said, it's probably the most versatile red that I have found anyway when it comes to pairing with food. But.
And just trying this right now as you bring that up, Tim, I would probably agree with it just because again the acids there that'll really help the actual cake, the fattiness that cheese has in it that would pull it down. And it has kind of that very natural, as Eric called it, forest floor, that kind of pile of leaves on the after finish that I think would keep in line with the actual flavor that the cheese is giving itself. Cool. I would not be upset about some nachos or queso dip in this wine.
Or fish sticks.
We're gonna try fish sticks next time.
I've always had a fish stick.
Are you craving fish sticks?
Fish sticks for my house. Yep, fish sticks and custard. Just go straight doctor style.
I don't think I've had a fish stick. I don't think I've had a fish stick in my adult life.
I'm not lying when I say I have over like the last 2 weeks.
Oh man.
Are you going to add them to the menu this week? I mean, Friday's coming up.
Still limited, but hey, video revision happening.
Fish sticks, yeah. Speaking of Ryan,
I'd love to see that on Ryan's special menu, though. And no play on words or anything. Just fish sticks. Period.
Fish sticks. The description is,
And then like a little silver like ramekin of tartar sauce. Just in.
Oh no, tartar sauce is too fancy, Tim.
Oh,
I'm just giving you ketchup.
Oh, okay. A bottled ketchup. I hope nothing fancied up.
Yeah, no, just Heinz ketchup.
And the whole description is just eat it.
Yeah, just do it. You ordered it. Why are you asking questions now?
It's your fault.
If you didn't want it, you should tune into At Home with Andrew and help us influence these decisions, because I'm just going to do whatever I want until people tell me not to.
Well, should we get into the...
Absolutely. Let's talk about this third bottle. I got about 3 to 5 minutes left on the food, so perfect.
So thanks, Ryan, for the decanter I borrowed from Courthouse Pub.
Whether you knew or not.
Whether you knew or not.
We'll find out.
All right. So before we get to this, I'm going to showcase the wine we're doing here. So the next wine that we're going to be tasting is my favorite producer in Rioja. So we're in Spain now. This is the López de Heredia Rioja Viña Tondonia, which is the vineyard name, Reserva, 2011. So this wine has got a little bit of age on it. We're at 12 years of age. So I actually...
When did you graduate high school?
2010.
2010. All right. Yeah. Perfect. That's all I figured. It's right around there. So yeah.
It's should be. Oh.
Yeah. But you're right there with that. That's all I was wondering. Just, yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna.
That's as old as you've been an adult.
Yeah.
Adult was in quotes, I'm assuming.
Oh, very much. Very much.
The last time I had a fish stick was before this wine was made.
Well, that wine is post fish stick.
Yeah, post fish stick.
There's a new time measurement, folks. Pre and post fish stick.
Oh my God. When was the last time you changed your oil? I was eating fish sticks. That's probably sludge by now.
All right. So this is an older wine. So I'm going to take out my little Durand here. It's just this little fancy wine opener. So there's two pieces to it. I'm going to push in around the cork, and then this is going to screw into the cork like I normally would. So I'm going to start with that right through the center of the cork. And the reason I'm using this, this wine should be fine. But the reason I'm using this is just in case the cork is brittle, because as the wine sits, eventually, I think actually with you, Tim, I think when I got my first level certification, you and Mara brought a 60 something
1965 port, yeah.
That I opened with a regular corkscrew, and they just get too brittle where they just start to fall apart.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as you were bringing it up, and that cork did not stand up to a corkscrew at all.
Stand up. There you go. Yeah, it's funny. First time I ever saw you, well, I was there when you got this, because I believe is this one Josh and Aaron?
Yeah.
Got you? Yeah, so Josh and Aaron got this for him. And I just remember being there, and we were kind of having our little friends Christmas sort of a thing. And he pulls this out, and he's like, whoa, like blown up. I'm like, looks like a tuning fork, man. You playing like the mouth harp? Like, what do you got? Like, I was super confused at why he was so excited. And then I realized, from there, once he explained it. But
if you drink old wine, it's my favorite. Like, I'm not a big tool wine. I got my regular wine key, and this, and I don't even own a decanter. Normally, what I'll do is I'll just get like a pitcher that you put juice in. And
I remember we did a dinner at your house.
It's easier to pour out of.
And he literally grabbed.
Plastic.
I don't remember what one was it that we were. It was that
easier to clean.
It was that maybe 2002 Cab Franc we did. Did you decant that one time?
Yeah.
And he literally just had 2 Kool-Aid pitchers that he was sitting here pouring this 2002 Cab Franc bottle just in 2 plastic pitchers. I was like, all right, man, do it.
Whatever works, I guess.
Hey, it does. And, in the great words of Alton Brown, who's one of my favorite celebrity chefs of all time, There's no room in a kitchen for a unitasker. So if you have a device in your kitchen that serves one purpose, there's no reason to have it in there, with one exception. And can you guess what the one device that you're allowed to have that has a single purpose is in your kitchen? Do you have a guess? Say it again. In your kitchen, not a single device should only be used for one thing. Like you see those bear claws for pulling pork apart. Why do you have that? Right? Just use forks. What is the one piece of equipment you're allowed to have in your kitchen that only has one purpose? And it's the only one you should have, and you should have it.
Do I have one?
I don't know. I haven't explored your kitchen enough, I guess. Tim, do you have any idea? Well, Eric thinks?
Meat thermometer?
Nope, because meat thermometer can be used for your boiling tea to make sure your coffee's at the right temperature.
True.
Right? It's not just for me. That's what I'm saying. A thermometer tells temperature, so I guess you can kind of trick yourself into that. But you can temp multiple things with it.
Yeah.
Good guess, I think.
Yeah, that was that you almost I almost give you the win on technicality. Fire extinguisher.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Your fire extinguisher, right? That should be the only thing. Yeah, there you go. Should be the only thing in your kitchen that has one purpose is your fire extinguisher. But really, like, I mean, you have a giant, whatever pasta spoon. Why? Just get a normal spoon. You know what I mean? Why are you giving Bed Bath & Beyond $28 when you probably have something that's going to do it already? So, as Eric said, you don't need to go out and buy $1,000 of extra tools to enjoy your wine with. Have a cork.
Right.
Use that money and buy a nice bottle of wine.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Right.
All right, so I'm actually taking off all the foil of this wine because we're going to decant it, and I'll show you why in a second. All right. So, you want to be romantic, or do you want me to use my phone? I'll use my phone. So, when you're decanting wine, basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my phone, and you can do this with a candle. We all got these phones here, so this will be perfect. So, I'm going to push the light up like this, and all I'm going to do is when I pour
shift this camera over here too, Tim, just so you can get a little bit of a better close-up if you'd like on it.
The only reason, and the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to be looking through the light to see if there's any sediment that goes to the neck here. And as soon as I start seeing sediment, this bottle's been standing up now for a while too. You make sure if you have an old wine to stand it up for a while so that all the sediment goes towards the bottom. But as soon as I start seeing any sediment, if there is any, it's only 12 years old, I'm going to stop pouring. So that way all the wine that's left in the decanter won't have any sediment in it. So all I'm doing is just looking through that neck with the light and seeing if any sediment comes through. And right now we're looking good. It usually is more near 3/4.
No, I'm getting in your way.
No, you're good. I can still see through.
Try to make sure you're I don't know where my camera is.
No, it looks great.
And I don't see any sediment. So I'm just going to pour the whole bottle in here. That was a wasted exercise, but it's still nice to know how to do that.
But it looks cool.
I personally don't, like I said, I don't even own a decanter. And there's some people that, or whatever works for you. Some people swear by it where like they got to let it breathe for an hour or so. Personally, I would rather just pour the wine and let it sit in my glass and just watch it evolve and being able to, smell the wine as it's going through those phases. I really just use the decanters just for sediment, which this one didn't have any. So,
yeah. So before you pour this, I do have one more quick question. If you want to kind of walk people through this, let's say I'm going out to a nice restaurant or I'm taking somebody out and I plan on ordering a nice bottle of wine. What, as a customer, and you as the person, the som or the person doing the wine, how are you going to do this? Like, what should I expect when I order this nice bottle of wine? I guess, like when they bring it out and all, you want to kind of walk through serving. I mean, quick, like, if I've never ordered one before and all of a sudden this guy shows up, like, what is he doing to me? Walk people through so they kind of know.
Yeah, no, it's fair. So yeah, if like you order a bottle of wine at the restaurant, if I was serving someone and they order a bottle of wine at the restaurant, I'll usually repeat the order back just to make sure I got the right bottle. And then when the som or the server, whoever's serving you the wine, comes back, they're gonna usually present to you the bottle. And all that is just to verify that the bottle that they grabbed is the bottle that you ordered. Then we'll proceed to cut the foil off. If there's foil, if there's a screw cap. We'll take that off, take the cork out, and then whoever ordered the bottle will get a little sample in their glass. And then that person will sample that. And you're not necessarily looking, at least me when I go to a restaurant, I'm not looking to say, this isn't my favorite wine in the world. This is to see if there's any flaws. TCA, it's called cork taint. You only find it if there's a cork in the bottle. It's really, I think I've only had 2 bottles ever that have had cork taint. But it kind of smells like wet cardboard. People a lot of times refer to it as, or was it Band-Aids? I think is another one people have used.
Oh God, really?
It doesn't smell good. Like it, or there's other, a couple other wine faults. Brett, especially in like natural winemaking, they don't use a lot of sulfur, which protects the wine. I mean, there's sulfites in wine naturally. Like there's sulfites in veggies you get at the grocery store even. But if there's Brett in the wine, it'll kind of smell, they call it like horse manure or barnyard, I think people like to call it, is like the nicer way to say it. So really that's what the server is giving you that little pour for, is just to try the wine, make sure the wine's sound. And then usually you just let them know, yep, it's good. And then the server will, whoever else is at your table, pour all the wine, leave the bottle. Usually I'll ask if they want me to leave the cork or not. Some people like that, like especially if it's a nice bottle, it's something to take home and remember that bottle you shared at the restaurant. But yeah, that's really all there is to it. But yeah, that's why the server's staring at you, I guess, holding the bottle like that.
But so it sounds like if it has that smell, it's not subtle. You'll know right away.
It doesn't smell pleasant at all. You will, especially like I said, TCA. It's a big long, science word. But the abbreviation, when we call it cork taint or just TCA, you definitely know it when you smell it. Like you will never be like, oh, maybe it's just a weird wine. No, you'll know when it's faulted.
Well, when barnyard. When something's described as barnyard, No
one wants to smell horse poop when they're drinking their wine.
That is so true.
But yeah,
was that a special portion of becoming a somm, learning that?
Well, yeah, like they do in like a blind tastings. Like one of the things you have to look for is the wine sound. So you're looking for VA, you're looking for like TCA, cork taint, Brett. VA, I always say that one I don't actually mind necessarily. A lot of Italian wines I find has a little bit of VA, and it's kind of got like a balsamic. It's just an aromatic. It kind of smells like balsamic vinegar a little bit, which I enjoy in small amounts.
What was it? The 2016 Barolo we opened a couple days ago?
Right,
it had it, and then I'd say within 10 minutes of it being it was out of the bottle. It was gone.
TCA doesn't blow off. You can't swirl your glass and get rid of TCA.
Yeah. And another thing is he brought up the Brett and all that. That's kind of in that line too, right? Some people don't mind it. Some people just say that's a part of that is a yeast that is on the grape, so therefore it is a part of the wine. It's not a fault. So it's kind of
considered a spoilage yeast.
Yeah. But it that's kind of in the eye of the beholder sort of a situation. Yeah. Right. And I learned that again just the other day when we opened some wine.
And Ryan Morris wanted to know if you can use headlights when you're decanting wine.
Why not? I would love to watch someone do that.
Sorry to have caught you with wine in your mouth.
All right, so before we talk about the wine, let's just
try this out.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, this is so different than the last one, but in such a good way.
So like I said, this wine's got a little bit of age. So what age does in wine? First of all, some people just don't like aged wine, which is totally fair. If you really enjoy like that Beaujolais we just drank was super, super fruity. This wine is not fruity. This is more on the tertiary kind of aromatics.
Good word.
And that's what happened.
Can we put that word up on chat? Just spell it out for us. Tertiary.
Someone else can spell it.
Oh, fair. Ryan, homework. Can we get the definition of tertiary?
Yeah, I mean, if he could find the thing about the wax, he can definitely find a spelling of tertiary.
Yeah. So as wine ages, like it becomes less fruity, and you get more of like the earthy notes, the mineral notes. This wine was aged in oak, and this one kind of smells like leathery. I'm getting like leathery. This one was also aged in American oak, and just from blind tastings that we've done, for a lot of American oak, especially used American oak, you'll get like these dill, which I'm getting a lot of in this one, or like coconut aromatics in there. So this is like dill, coconut, leather, a little bit of sour cherry, maybe.
Yeah. And so everyone knows when he says blind tastings, what we're talking about is no, you're fine. Yeah, I'm just I don't know, once a month or maybe, as often as we can, we'll get together and we'll have a bottle. So here's just an unopened bottle, one I picked up today. And this bottle will come completely wrapped in a black tissue paper. So we'll open just enough to get the wine poured out of it, and we'll do a sampling in the glass. And through, smelling it, obviously the color, but not just red, white in terms of like the red wine. Is it got some purpleness to it? Is it brighter? Is it lighter? Smelling it again, as he just kind of described, that last one was very fruity and open. And this one has a little more of that leather and all that. And then by tasting it and kind of pulling those certain flavors, you get to really, it's a process of elimination, I would say, more than anything, right? Here's 20 grapes and they all have kind of their own thing. Well, I'm not getting these things, or I am getting these things, means it's going to be down to these 3 grape varieties, maybe 1 or 2, depending on your level. And then really what it comes down to, and the difference between someone who does this and someone who's trying to do this, is, Eric the other day opened up a bottle, and by doing this blind tasting, never seen the bottle, I literally handed him this glass here, and he called not only the grape variety, the vintage, so the year it was made, and the region, but he called what side of the river the grapes were grown on, essentially.
Oh, that's impressive.
Through a breakdown. I know it's you're about to continue yourself, because what he's going to say is, no, it's just really the left side uses more of this grape, which means that he called the side of the river that the grapes were grown on. So don't let him discount himself. It was a very, very impressive video.
It sounds impressive.
So
that's a good segue, because I've been trying to, every single wine we've opened, I'm well, if you like this, you should look at this. And this reminds me a lot of Right Bank Bordeaux. Merlot focus. Yeah. It's lighter than the Cab Heavy Left Bank style. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely got a little bit of earthiness.
Also, tertiary.
All right. Was that from you or Mr. Morris?
That I did all on my own.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're slacking for us, right?
I do what I can.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the
wine. Please talk about it now. I'm gonna go finish this plating up, and you talk about that, and I'll get the food out here in about 3 minutes.
Cool. All right. Like I said, this is from Rioja, which is in the northern part of Spain. This is the Reserva. So Spanish wines, a lot of them will have, Crianza, Reserva, and then Gran Reserva. So all that is aging requirements. So to have Reserva on the bottle, it has to be aged, I believe it's 3 years total, 1 in oak. The Gran Reserva is 5 years total. 2 of those has to be in oak, which is funny, though, because this wine was aged 6 years in oak and then 4 in bottle before released. So technically, this could be labeled a Gran Reserva. But they have another Gran Reserva. I think the current vintage is I think we just got to 2001 is the current vintage for their Gran Reserva release at the moment. They definitely hold their wines back. Like I said, the current release, I think, is 2012 for this bottle right now.
So that's definitely a fish stick wine.
Yeah, fish stick wine. And this bottle I actually did get from Waterford up into Pier as well. So the other ones I didn't, but this one I did.
Right. Which is, as I tried to note on that Waterford is the closest kind of premier wine, or that you'll be able to get a high quality wine. But some of these were straight from Eric's cellar that he has down there. So thank you for opening some of these up today, buddy.
Yeah. The funny thing about the aging requirements is, like I said, for a Grand Reserve, it's just got to be aged 2 years in oak, and then 5 years total. So technically, in Spain, if you could make a Reserva, but have it aged for 2 years in oak, release it to the public in 3 years, so it still fits, aged for 3 years, and it was at least 1 year in oak. And then 2 years later, if you still were sitting on bottles, you could take the label off, put a new label on, and say now it's a Grand Reserva because now it's been aged for 5 years. Which I think is just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Honestly. I don't know if any wineries do that, but you technically could.
Yeah.
But yeah, this winery
Take
is
that, Jack Daniels.
this winery is on. This winery is on. I think it's the 5th generation. So they've been around since 1877. In fact, they even have it on the bottle here as well. And they've been making wine in this style. This is a very traditional style of Rioja. And what I mean by that is a lot of times in Spain, we kind of categorize between traditional and modern. Modern would use French oak, and it's usually aged for less time. The traditional producers, and that'll be new French oak, not used barrels. The traditional producers, like the one we're having today, uses larger barrels. So these are like the 1,000-liter, big barrels. It's American oak, and it's used oak. So they some of the barrels they've had for long.
You want to break that down real quick? What's the difference between new, used, big, large? Just real, we'll kind of give them a quick.
Yeah.
I know it's pretty what it sounds like, but just to make sure everyone's.
Yeah, new oak just means that no wine's ever touched this barrel. It's a brand new barrel. No wine's been aged in it. When I say used oak, I just mean they used it for previous vintages. How many? Who knows? They're all different. But and then what was the other one you wanted? Oh, the size.
Large, small.
When most people think about a wine barrel, that's what I would call a small barrel. That's kind of like the standard. The large barrels are huge. Well, you were just in Italy. I'm curious if you saw any like the big botti. I think they call them, Tim.
Yeah.
They're huge. Like they're as tall as me. Like,
they're massive. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would consider large oak barrels.
Yeah.
But
the small, like as you said, are what, like 55-gallon maybe, like somewhere like something in that range, like a barrel. When you think of like a barrel sitting underneath a rain spout or whatever, right? That's kind of
Yeah, and this is a blend. So the primary grape variety here is going to be Tempranillo. I believe this is 75% Tempranillo. It usually has a little bit of Garnacha or Grenache. It's like the Syrah, or Shiraz. And if you're in Australia or if you're anywhere else, like I don't know why the wine industry does that. Like we have multiple names for the same thing. But yeah, so it's got 15% Grenache, I believe, and then 10% Graciano, which is like a indigenous grape. I believe it's indigenous to Spain. A little bit about the grape breakdown of the wine here as well.
I'm blanking on that one winery that you really liked that we were at in Italy, on Sicily. That you brought up when I posted the pictures of our lunch there.
Seeing the picture.
But I'm completely blanking on it. But they had one room that was just filled with those huge barrels that you were talking about, and it was really impressive. And then they took us up to a room they're constructing because they're going back to using an old press with like the limestone like bath, the huge bath with the press that is operated by donkeys in this case.
It's very what was it? Pirates of the Caribbean. The scene where they're fighting with the donkey.
But they're not. It wasn't. They were getting the last piece of the screw piece of it, and it wasn't functional. But it was interesting that they're going back to like more traditional methods, more ancient methods of producing wine. And it was also interesting, like we say in a couple places that used to be monasteries that are now wineries or vineyards, and that all of the places wanted to show you the old wine rooms where the monks would produce wine, and it looked almost identical. The ones that were several centuries old look almost identical to the ones that they were they're putting in that winery in Sicily, except there were no donkeys involved. It was just monk powered. All right, I'm going to take myself out again and bring in something much more attractive. This the food pic I've been staring at looks crazy good.
Yeah. So this would be Patatas Bravas.
That sounds fancy.
It sounds very fancy. And I'll break down to how non-fancy it is here in a minute. But to kind of, make sure everyone catch everyone up, I guess I would say on the, Spanish food, tapas is a very popular thing in Spain. And tapas is essentially what we would kind of call an appetizer. And it's just more the way that they do it. So a lot of times in Spain, whenever you would go to a bar, and still will, when you go to a bar or something like that, they're going to give you food. And the reason is, if you get real drunk after 2 drinks, you go home and go to sleep, or you start acting a fool. They give you some potatoes, which are, a very easy food to prepare. You stay, you drink more, you behave better, you tip better, because now you're happy drunk, not I want to go punch somebody drunk, right? Yeah. So in the long game, it's beneficial. And this is one of the very, a more popular tapas in Spain. And this is essentially paprika roasted potatoes. So these are a Yukon style potato, which is right in the middle in terms of starchy to waxy. So it's going to have a little bit of a tooth. It's not going to get super soft like a starchy potato and fall apart, but it's not going to be, soft like a red potato will. The Yukon's right in the middle between, a russet and a red potato. And basically it's tossed in a little bit of oil. There's a little bit of, I believe this is one of the ingredients or one of the recipes that we forwarded to everybody. Mm-hmm. So a little bit of onion powder, some garlic powder, a good amount of paprika and a little bit of cumin, a little bit of oil, mix that up, toss these potatoes that were halved in it, and popped them again in the air fryer. This is, again, a 6-minute type of a thing. And then, yeah, please do. And then right on top is just a little bit of kind of a smoky aioli. So again, basically the same recipe that's in there. The only difference in the aioli versus the thing is I added a little bit of lemon juice to bring some acid to the dish. And again, paprika, all that. I put a pinch of mustard, dry mustard inside the aioli to kind of to just bring another layer in, and some lemon juice. And then this is just some fresh parsley on top, which I think, especially with this, a little bit of that fresh herbal is going to work really well with it. Yeah, but kind of, as Eric said, if it and I reiterated, or whoever brought it up, if it grows together, it goes together. And paprika, Spain and Hungary, all that whole area, and paprika, it's a lot. It's a very heavy use spice. You think of paella in Spain, it's a very paprika forward dish, which also a lot of seafood in paprika or in paella. And from what I understand, Rioja and paella actually works pretty well together.
That is a wine pairing that I have yet to have that I really, really want to try.
Yeah, I like paella. Paella is good. So, yeah. Yeah, that's money. I'd stay here and eat this and drink on this all day. And
I don't know if I would have thought of this pairing.
Yeah,
but it's good. It's really good.
Yeah. And again, it's just a little bit of spices. I'd say 95% of people probably have onion, garlic, paprika in their spice cabinet, and some potatoes. So, and I think, especially here in America, we've gotten we've gotten very used to you eat an appetizer, soup, salad, main, dessert, you go home. But old world, when you get into Europe, I mean, you're just there. How many times did you see people, Tim, in Italy finishing up with a savory dish and not a sweet dish, and vice versa and all that?
A lot.
Right. There isn't this kind of standard 3-course over there, right? You just kind of eat.
Oh yeah. No. I mean, like the last night there, we had an a la carte 3-course meal, but that was because we'd been eating like 12-course meals every day. And that's lunch and dinner. Now, I know we were on a tour. I know we were on vacation and that. But there was this one lunch that we had in Catania in Sicily. I don't remember the last time I had to tap out during lunch. Right. But I could not eat the last 2 courses. And the second to last was a sweeter sort of granita sort of like a twist on a granita. And then the last course was actually the pasta course. And I could not. There was no room in the inn. I absolutely could not eat the pasta.
You mean the straight heavy carbs at the end is not something you can just top off with?
Normally, I have no problem, but there was just so much else that came before that, and a decent amount of wine, and it was. I didn't want to ruin it. I didn't want to. I was like one bite away from being over full.
Yeah,
I was. And I wanted to avoid it, but you're right. It isn't such a straightforward dining path, and even the sweets aren't sweet in the way you think of them. Like if you like on a charcuterie board, if you get honey on there, it's never golden honey. It is always raw polleny honey.
Yeah,
that's just barely sweet, and it's so much better. I mean, in my opinion, it's so much more to my liking.
I agree. And I'm the type that, with our last video where Eric's making fun of me because I'm sitting there eating Skittles out of my pocket as I'm making this giant ribeye and all that. I'm a sweets guy. I always have been. I do like my sweets. But I agree that, if you lower the sweets a little, you can kind of bring the savory in as well and run them parallel. Mm-hmm. Again, parallel. You don't have to go full extremes, which I feel is a common thing, I guess, in modern age and where we live, America, that sort of a thing. But yeah, it's just such a different food world over there. I'm so excited you got to go to Italy. I was in Italy, I think when I was 16 and then again when I was 18. And that's the trip I really remember. And again, as you brought up, just food to the point where you couldn't eat anymore. Me and a friend ended up staying with a older lady who basically was feeding us and letting us sleep on our couch to do a little extra work for her, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And I just remember we'd go out and like try to fix her chicken coop or fix her goat. I don't remember what it was at this point. We were putting a fence in and we'd get like 20 minutes of work done. She'd come and drag us inside for another meal. And I'm like, it's 1 o'clock and this is our fourth meal. Like I can't. Like I just physically don't have room anymore for food. I love it, but I can't.
Yeah, please. I would like to stop eating just for an hour.
Yeah, please now, may I?
And one thing, how you were bringing up like the peppery notes in the wine earlier, the nose of it and everything.
Yeah.
I found that food, like a lot of the food, and for one thing, it's like there's never anyone going, oh, it's organic. I mean, they'll talk about the slow food movement, but they won't necessarily go into everything because everything just is organic. There is so much less there's no preservatives really in anything. And the vegetables are more peppery. Like the arugula over there is significantly more peppery. And I was just thinking while you were having the Riesling earlier, how good it would have gone with this one salad we had, which was peppery but had elements of sweet and savory in it too. And it was not at the mega lunch. It was at a different lunch where I actually managed to eat everything. But the salad was like the star of the lunch, and that's amazing. And it went really well with the wines had a more peppery nose too. Amar and I commented on that from day one when we got to Rome, how the wines there were had more pepper in the nose, no matter what the other notes were, and it was great. But I personally like it where it doesn't follow the real traditional. You have soup, you have salad, you have your main thing, you have dessert, and then you go home. I like that it's mixed up more. That's much more to my, I guess, personality, my nonlinear stupidity.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines, I had to verify the chef's name to make sure I didn't say it right. That's what I was kind of trying to look up there. It's Ferran, who's a Spanish chef. So it kind of fits with the wine we're drinking right now. And he's kind of known as one of the chefs that really introduced modern, like one of the founders of modern Spanish cuisine, so he just took that very fundamental Spanish flavor and turned it into what they're eating. Like he was one of the pioneers that kind of did it. Now we're talking in the 80s, maybe to, he's still a chef and still kind of owns some restaurants, but that was kind of when it happened. And in the 80s was kind of the first push of this, like farm to table, kind kind of moving. There's every about 10 years, there's kind of that big push again. It kind of roller coasters as most things in America here. And a few restaurants in New York open with this big, like, we buy all of our stuff from 5 miles away and all this. And he's like, it's funny. The Americans are gloating about finally farming or finally buying their food within 5 miles, but we've been doing it for 2,000 years here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's your point. There is a thing to it. And, as a chef in this area, I'm glad that we get a chance to do it, right there at Ryan's now. I mean, we use local herbs, we use local lettuce. If we can get stuff close, we do as much as we can. Absolutely. Because there is a point to it. Every region tastes a little different. As you said, Spanish or Italian arugula. I bet if we bought some grown in the backyard here, I have parsley that's grown in, that's where this parsley came from. In my garden, it's all going to taste a little different because soil all that stuff, right? Everything changes it up a little. So it's a very interesting thing. Well, the way that food can evolve by just planting it somewhere else.
Yeah. And a lot of the chefs that we didn't get to interact with everyone, but they kind of brought up and kind of laughed at the American farm to table sort of thing. And they brought up the same thing you said. Will. They've just been doing it forever. It's just how it goes, and eggplant. That's another thing that really jumps out at me is
the aubergine.
The aubergine is so much better. I mean, it's more substantial. It's more savory. We had a lasagna that was made without noodles, but was made with eggplant.
Yep.
Cut really thin.
Olive Garden's the worst thing to happen to eggplant. Everyone got used to eggplant parmesan and thinking eggplant was supposed to just kind of be this soggy thing in the middle of some breading, and it's not. I mean, good eggplant is incredible. But, the aubergine, which, for the people that don't know, aubergine is just kind of the classic European, that's the UK or the London, that's what they call an eggplant. It's literally the same plant. They come from the same. If I pluck two, though, you're going to be able to tell the difference. And aubergine's close to like a zucchini size. They're not huge. Yeah. It's going to be kind of smaller to where we grow our eggplants until they look like, it's a mini pumpkin almost.
Yeah.
So just the way they grow their food is completely different. Now it's incredible the differences. Big puddle in between us makes.
Yeah. Absolutely true.
So
I could go on, but I won't.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, we could sit here and talk food and wine all night, but I want to say thank you, Tim, for having us again. I want to say thank you to Eric for opening up his home this time and opening these absolutely incredible wines. I just want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in.
What's your favorite wine?
Ooh, my favorite? It's tricky because I'm really, really, really enjoying this Rioja. I really, really like it. But I like kind of the big bold reds and that Riesling. I keep that Riesling just almost too good to not say. So I'm gonna go with the Riesling. It probably wins overall, but right now I'm really enjoying kind of this bigger red at the end of this time. Yeah,
I love a Rioja. So that was the Rioja was my favorite personally.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm curious what everyone's drinking at home. If anyone's got something really fun that they've been, or their favorite wine, I'd be curious to hear what everyone's favorite wine is. Honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave comments on the the Manitowoc library. Send it, post a picture of any wine you have, including a question. If you're just like, hey guys, this wine is blowing my mind. I don't know, I've had it. Maybe you got a gem hanging in there that we can help you through. Tim, if you get any of those messages, I know you.
Yeah. I'll definitely pass them along.
So pass them on to me or Eric because I'd love to know. Yeah, absolutely.
And if anyone wants the recipes for the two dishes, just take a look on anything that we posted lately of the last two At Home with Andrew posts because they've got the full list there as well as the wines that Eric brought tonight. Those are listed there as well. So feel free to leave comments, pictures, anything. I'll pass it along to these guys. Thank you so much, Eric. However you spell your name. I love changing this up the way we did. I never think of wine and finger food. I mean, especially like game day food or, stuff like that. And it's like, why not?
It's great, especially, a lot of times when me and Eric are drinking wine, there's rarely one bottle opened. So, if you sit there and you're trying to eat a giant meal with one, well, we're going to be done with that bottle before that steak's even cooked normally. So there's going to be a few bottles open. So you might as well just make the dishes smaller and make it wine forward sometimes.
Yeah. I love switching it up tonight. This was a great suggestion. And it worked out glad. Since you're coming off, injured reserve, you're just getting integrated again. It worked out really nicely, even though that wasn't the plan.
Perfect. So, thank you again, Eric. Thank you, and we'll go ahead and sign on off here, Tim. And
thank you guys. We'll be back next month. I imagine we haven't even talked about what it's going to be yet.
No, so I'll try to get some details, or we'll start working something out. I'd say within the next week. That way we got about a month or so, kind of a heads up as normal. Because I believe it's November 9th, I believe is the date.
I believe that is correct. Yes.
Yeah, so I believe it's November 9th. It's that Thursday. I may be off a day, but I believe that's it. And we'll, I'll get the info to Tim, and hopefully we'll be able to start getting some info out about that over the next few weeks. So
try not to carry anything downstairs in the next month.
Yeah, no, I'll make sure I'm in tip-top shape. So,
all right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Ryan Morris, for all your very insightful questions and comments. And have a great night, everyone. And we will see you next month. Night, everybody. Thank you, you guys. It was fantastic.